Okay, good morning and thank you all for being over here and there. My name is Petros Petridis and I am an associate professor at Panteion University at the Department of Social Anthropology. And I will be presenting a paper based on the other papers you sent us with topic the brain drain. So this presentation is based on a collective effort by our team. Athina Athanasiou and Dimitra Kofti have reviewed and summarized some of the papers submitted by the other teams, and of course by the authors of the documents of the other teams, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Serbia. So it synthesizes different papers/reports on brain drain in these countries. I will begin with some general comments on brain drain, and then I will be presenting the specifics of each country in a summarized way. So the term brain drain was invented by post-World War II policymakers in Britain, worried about the most talented British scientists emigrating to Canada and the States for higher income and more opportunities. It is a component of global capitalism, and more specifically, the long unfolding process of deindustrialization and a shift of labor into services. Gradually, and specifically since the 90s, brain drain came to mean labor mobility of skilled workers who seek better employment opportunities than those in their countries of origin. As such, this kind of mobility described migratory trajectories from poorer to richer countries. The phrase underlines that the place of departure is drained from skilled workers, and in its daily usage, especially in the media, it often implies that skilled, educated, and talented workers are leaving the country. Moreover, brain drain is conterminous with various forms of precarity, and in the digital economy era, the organization of labor is no longer restricted by borders, enabling new forms of mobility, mobility of labor, capital, remote work, and production. Underlying this condition of drainage contains commonly expressed worries about various sectors such as healthcare, education, research, and nowadays the information and communication technology sector, especially artificial intelligence. Indeed, more skilled workers in each industry are leaving the countries to get better employment opportunities in richer countries. And such mobilities reproduce transnational and economic hierarchies which are intertwined with power relations. The studies from each country in this project, Bulgaria, Greece, North Macedonia, and Serbia, point to different aspects and qualities of these unequal mobilities as presented in the next section. Nevertheless, the term brain drain is based on dichotomical views of the mind versus the body, which in its turn reproduces other types of inequalities among types of employment. While the notion underlines the brain, at the same time it implies that manual work is less important as such. Migration of those working in the so-called manual position is not underlined as equally affecting the local economies. This division is also based on class imaginaries, given that the brain jobs are often associated with the middle classes, while the manual jobs are associated with the working classes. However, anthropological critical views on work and labor have underlined that the body-mind division relies on ethnocentric Western dichotomies that reproduce ideas about labor as skilled versus unskilled, manual versus non-manual, and rely to a large extent on existing construction and hierarchies within the workforce. Following this line, one wonders whether brain drain is not only pointing to mobility as detrimental to local economies, but also contributes to the silence and invisibilities of different types of working workers. The division between mind and the body is dominant in the Western imaginary and was intensified by the computerization and the digitization of several sectors of the economy. Industrial technologies tend to identify with the body as substitutions or extensions of the body, while information technologies tend to identify with the mind as substitution or extension of mental qualities, intelligence, memory, etc. People tend to perceive information as disembodied. The cloud is an ethereal entity, an ethereal technology. However, information technologies demand material infrastructures such as cables, data centers, and hardware, and thus manual labor. Specifically, in the case of AI, artificial intelligence, employees in the sector of developing AI models are regarded as valuable and a significant portion of contemporary brain drain, while the manual laborers, the people who work in the construction of data centers, manual data annotation, the sector of power and energy, electric grids, and the like, are usually invisible in this context. The automation of labor that has taken place in the last couple of decades seems to share characteristics with previous forms of technological changes throughout the 20th century in various sectors of work, labor, and production. One of the most prominent is that technological changes enable new forms of skilling and de-skilling. As anthropological and historical studies of work have demonstrated, skill as a category is historically informed and socially constructed. Moreover, the category of the unskilled may create different types of hierarchies in the world. For example, migrant workers in different factories globally are classified as unskilled for jobs that classify local workers as skilled. Taxonomies and processes of skilling and de-skilling about digital labor are also related to class, gender, and ethnic characteristics, which in turn may inform different global class inequalities. For example, many remote workers who can work online are conventionally characterized by the media as digital nomads. And Greece has been a hotspot for digital nomads since 2020 and the pandemic. Those are mostly considered skilled workers in various sectors of software programming and services and may work from anywhere in the globe. They often move mainly from Western and Northern countries to Southern and Eastern, forming not only a growing number of mobile employees globally, but also a significant pool, a significant community of consumers who affect the housing markets. Those relatively well-paid workers may live side by side with less privileged workers, such as those who work remotely, yet they are not allowed to cross borders according to their companies. This is the case with several call centers and online service companies operating in Greece and other countries in the region. The paper submitted by Bulgaria also focused on call centers. Oh, okay. Thus, in responding to one of the questions of this report about how the automation of labor may affect the countries of the Balkan region, one might suggest that the digitalization and the automation of labor may intensify changes in multidirectional ways. One of the current conditions suggests that all global and colonial hierarchies and inequalities seems to be reproduced by such labor practices. Those seem to be also informed by different forms of freedom and mobility restrictions similar to those in the past decades. The need for enskillment and reskillment is obvious in a study conducted for the European Commission concerning the AI, artificial intelligence brain drain. In the current phase of the dominance of the data economy, EU policymakers have similar concerns with the UK policymakers who initially coined the term brain drain, this time about the AI PhDs and the experts that leave Europe for the USA for greater salaries and more opportunities. I quote from the report, "Training Europeans without providing jobs and increased salaries will only fuel the brain drain from Europe to the USA and within Europe from poorer regions to wealthier ones." So again, we have a multi-directional, at least two-level brain drain. I quote again, "Either we invest in reskilling and better education to help workers climb up the ranks of drudgery, or we have tens of millions of Europeans who can get jobs at all." Furthermore, the study notes that most data produced globally are captured by the USA, China, and to a lesser extent by Russia. To the contrary, data produced by Europe are captured again by either the state or China. And according to the authors of the report, EU has to find a way to store and use our data. Otherwise, it will end up a colony. So it is interesting that the authors believe Europe is in jeopardy of becoming a data colony. And of course, there is a clear reference to storage, fast manual work, because you have to construct data centers, etc. However, the emphasis of the report is on AI talent. We have again the division between skilled, unskilled, and manual, non-manual. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, a report published in 2024, the AI workforce has grown significantly, almost on global scale, tripling as a percentage. However, men are about twice as likely as women to work in an AI occupation or report AI skills. This suggests, again, a gender gap in a global AI job market. AI talents are in high demand and remain a strong workforce across economies, with countries competing for a small pool of highly skilled AI workers. For example, economies such as Luxembourg, Canada, Germany attracted more AI talents than they lost in 2022. In contrast, India, Greece, and Lithuania saw a net outflow of AI talents from their borders. This may suggest an AI brain drain where highly skilled workers move to another country for improved employment opportunities. Thus, the emphasis is again on AI experts and reproduces the same division: skilled unskilled, cognitive manual, non-manual manual. And nonetheless, as was previously suggested, AI occupations and technologies cannot exist without material infrastructure and manual labor. Cloud infrastructure, electricity grids. Of course, we have to take into account environmental footprint. Again, a very material condition. And of course, what is called the manual labor is crucial. In Greece, there are currently 18 data centers. They have been constructed very recently. And they demand huge amounts of power. They produce a huge amount of heat. And these facts connote the reproduction of the scheme center periphery, core periphery, where the countries of the periphery have to accept huge amount of e-waste. First, gender categories, the division between center and periphery, skilled and non-skilled, non-manual and manual, tend to be reproduced in the current context. Specifically about Greece now, we based our assumptions on Lois Labrianidis' text and his colleagues, and the concept of brain drain. The concept of brain drain in Greece by Lois Labrianidis is analyzed as an aspect of international skill migration within a globalized economic system, focusing on brain drain from South and Eastern Europe and specifically from Greece. The authors of these articles investigate to what extent highly skilled Greeks migrants are attracted by global cities. Brain drain concerns international skill migration within the globalized economic system in a digital economy era, of course. I'm drawing on a data set that includes all the Greek PhD holders and a list of global cities. The authors find that highly skilled Greek migrants are attracted more to cities that are indexed as global. They argue that there is a mutually beneficial relationship between skilled migrants and global cities, to the extent that global cities create a favorable socio-economic environment that attracts highly skilled migrants. And Saskia Sassen argued that the global economy is governed by global cities, cities wherein banking, capital, and high-tech production are concentrated. These advanced services and the high-tech production tasks require a highly educated and skilled labor force. And in that sense, high demand for skilled labor constitutes a special feature of global city labor markets. Skilled migration is a key process in global city formation, reflecting the role of these cities as nodes and hubs for the global economy. The globalization of the economy has strengthened the tendency of human capital to be concentrated in urban spaces. At the same time, it has enhanced global disparities and hierarchies related to the production and dissemination of economies of knowledge, export activities, and entrepreneurial performance. This situation exacerbates the developmental gap between global cities and home countries/cities, thus further increasing regional inequalities as well as inequalities between the global south and the global north. More specifically, in the context of the debt crisis in Greece, recession, austerity, and the socio-political consequences, Greece has been experiencing a major wave of out-migration, almost 1 million people. A large part of the outflow comprises young graduates, thus raising concerns about the negative impact of the ongoing brain drain of the country's economy and society. The crisis-driven immigration of professionals that account for approximately 2/3 of the outflow has turned Greece into a major exporter of highly skilled labor to the countries of Northern Europe, and thus replicating again the division between core and periphery. Most of them emigrate because they feel they lack any prospects in their home country and due to their overall disappointment in the socio-economic situation in Greece. They use the right of freedom of movement, seeking a better future in other countries in the European Union. But we have a paradox here. Most of them blame the policies and institutions of these countries of destination for the socio-economic condition their country currently finds itself in due to the extreme austerity policies imposed by Troika. In the past few years, in times of crisis and austerity politics, the ongoing brain drain has acquired alarming proportions, and of course, the structural precondition of the so-called brain drain predate the crisis. In historical terms, it is a phenomenon that may be primarily attributed to the low demand for highly skilled work in the Greek labor market. Yet it is only now that the brain drain has reached critical proportions, raising concerns about the prospects of recovery of a country becoming increasingly deprived of its young, educated workforce. In the current circumstances, focusing on there are policies that focus on a repatriation policy, but according to the authors, this will not succeed. Since return to Greece in the short term is not something most immigrants are planning or indeed dreaming of. There is a new initiative begun in 2023, Rebrain Greece, it's the title, with a basic aspiration to repatriate brain drainers, but until now only 150 people have registered for repatriation. Instead, the focus should be, again according to the authors, the focus of the policy should be on helping to develop means of cooperation that could lead to the development of viable and sustained transnational ties between them and the Greek society and economy. Now, the case of North Macedonia. North Macedonia has seen a troubling decline in tertiary education enrollment, particularly marked in the academic year 22-21. Recent data suggests slight improvements in 2022-2023 academic year. Concerns arise from proposed government plans to limit enrollments to create a balanced workforce, ignoring the EU's focus. Should I stop?
No.
Okay. Ignoring the EU's focus on innovation-based economy. This approach fails to recognize the need to nurture students' entrepreneurial and IT skills. Despite high student interest in studying abroad, particularly in Slovenia, where enrollments have surpassed those at North Macedonia's State University of Skopje, the government has viewed this brain drain as a personal choice rather than a systemic issue. I would say the same goes for Greece as well, to a certain extent at least. The current education law adopted in 2018 centralizes control and undermines academic autonomy, echoing past governance failures linked to the state capture under former Prime Minister Nicola Gruevski. The lack of genuine democratic reform since 2017 is evident in higher education policies that superficially align with EU standards, while undermining the Bologna process. The absence of true academic autonomy hampers North Macedonia's potential to integrate with European higher education and foster innovation. To address these challenges, urgent reforms are necessary, according to the authors. This includes decentralized academic recognition processes, enhancing institutional autonomy, and promoting a quality-driven education system aligned with European standards. True academic freedom and collaboration with European experts are vital for improving the educational landscape, reversing brain drain, and ensuring North Macedonia's competitiveness in the future. The case of Serbia. The brain drain phenomenon in Serbia, which has been intensifying since the 90s, poses significant economic, social, and political challenges. This exodus of professionals, particularly the youth, has led to critical labor shortages and has stunned the country's development and innovation. Key factors driving this brain drain include high youth unemployment, economic instability, and the lack of career opportunities, prompting educated individuals to seek better prospects abroad. Serbia has one of the highest youth unemployment rates globally and struggles to attract and retain talent, which exacerbates its demographic and economic issues. The historical context includes the wars in the former Yugoslavia, which catalyzed migration patterns. Ongoing sociopolitical instability, corruption, and a misaligned education system have further fueled dissatisfaction among young professionals. The loss of skilled individuals not only depletes Serbia's intellectual resources, but also weakens civil society. I think this is a significant point, and democratic engagements, as educated citizens tend to be more politically active. The demographic impact is also severe, contributing to an aging population and a shrinking workforce, straining the economy and social services. To combat these challenges, Serbia needs to reform its education system to better align with the labor market needs, create job opportunities, and improve living standards. Collaborative efforts with the European Union are also essential to develop sustainable solutions for retaining talent and fostering economic growth. And finally, the case of Bulgaria. The text discusses the evolution of the outsourcing industry rather than the brain drain in Bulgaria, particularly focusing on the call center sector. The author outlines a personal research approach, quite critical and self-reflexive, combining their own experiences in call centers with interviews and public discourse analysis. The goal is to explore how outsourcing relates to migration patterns, emphasizing the duality of migrants and mobile elites, what we called previously digital nomads and other similar figures. And of course, at the same time, emphasizes the socio-economic implication of these dynamics. Bulgaria's economic restructuring post-1989 has shifted their workforce from industrial jobs to the service sector, and the country offers low wages, a skilled labor force, and a favorable business environment, making it an attractive outsourcing destination, particularly in competition with similar Asian economies. Despite efforts to elevate Bulgaria's status as a high-skilled outsourcing hub, challenges remain, particularly in aligning educational outcomes with industry needs. Initiatives are underway to improve workforce through collaboration between universities and outsourcing companies. Like I said, rather than looking at brain drain as a mobility pattern from one place to another, the paper looks at how outsourcing and mobility of companies result in a new global and local mobilities. It seems to me rather an organizational and industrial brain drain than a regional one. The authors suggest that several companies have moved to Bulgaria in the last decades in search of cheap labor, including highly skilled positions. And as such, skilled workers in Bulgaria, similar to other countries, work in outsourcing service companies. The paper describes how in the work of digital labor, all categories of work and mobility are blurred. Skilled workers, for instance, not only move from their countries, but also remain in their countries and work in rather precarious conditions in outsourcing companies. And the paper critically discusses categories such as lifestyle migration and expatriate, rather than reproducing images of high-skilled workers as a middle-class migration. the analysis looks at how new labor and capital mobilities contribute to declassing cognitive workers. Highly skilled, educated workers may work in their country or abroad in service companies and precarious positions. And the paper further analyzes the conditions of flexibility in such types of labor, which results not only in precarious conditions, but also in workers' frequent change of jobs and countries. This frequent change is described not only as a precarious condition, but also in its complexity in terms of choice, escaping, and changing. And that's that. Thank you very much.
Do you have any comments? Jordan, would you respond?
I hope we summarized in a proper way the papers from Bulgaria, Macedonia, and.
I think maybe we should, before Jacques responds, just in official language, maybe we should update a little bit or add some more content to our report. I can simply send a few sentences for Dimitri. Or if you think that the point is clear, then maybe it's unnecessary. We are focusing on the situation in academia because if this country is supposed to join EU, if EU strategy is economic development moves through innovation, higher education now are more important than primary and secondary. This is the strategy from that line officially declared. And if we're supposed to join forces and align already as a candidate country, you're supposed to align with these policies, such as Serbia does already. We're just lagging behind for some very strange reasons. I'm not sure if this is a personal choice. We'll speculate about that. Then leaving the universities empty, leaving the university without this research force is exempting yourself basically from this new concept of global or planetary economy, as the European Commission calls it now. So it kind of betrays a certain position vis-a-vis its EU accession, which is on the other hand explicable through other geopolitical terms, increasing pro-Russian sentiment, rising nationalism. It's all kind of implied. I don't know. We kind of know it when we discuss it, but it's not in the paper. I'm not sure if we should add something like that.
I think the paper is fine, but whatever you think.
It's kind of implied,
okay.
Right?
I do not understand the comment about the free choice. As I understood the text, was okay.
When we wrote the paper initially, the first draft, we just updated the draft from 2 years ago for this purpose. Then we kind of believe that it's a random personal choice. Now I'm beginning to wonder because even the previous government, even the government before that, progressive government, and even the current government, they keep pushing for vocational training, upskilling of vocational training, and they're working hard on discouraging people essentially to enroll in universities. Now they're supposed to be some sort of a state exam center that will qualify you or not, again centralized, to enroll in university. This is an idea from the Social Democrats, which is interestingly continuing with Vomero now. So I'm wondering whether they believe and whether we should believe this is a personal choice. It's beginning to look like sort of a policy. I agree with your problematization of the distinction and opposition between the categories of skilled and unskilled, between intellectual and manual labor. All that is nonsense, of course, and we know that both types intertwine and are equally relevant. But still, if this is the policy and not just a random choice, we are destined to remain, even if we join eventually the union, to remain some dump for cheap labor. This is
Okay.
sort of a commentary we kind of assumed could be inferred from what we said, but maybe we need to be more explicit. I'll see out of
Okay.
Okay, sorry to interject like this. Maybe you have something to add about your part. You will respond, let us just say something about our legal policy that is
I agree with this landscape of the coordinated labor, and really this kind of migration paper as you outlined them are important. I only wonder for these high-tech work kind of computing and businesses dealing with big data and so on. Is it really necessary to prepare highly educated people, young people?
Yeah, this is a very good point. Okay.
Without any kind of statistics, several people around me were very clever, but never educated the university. So they start 1 second, third, fourth education, but actually they learn Python, whatever kind of, they go to this kind of 1 to 3 months academia for computing, and they know one computer language, and because they are not very good educated, actually, they couldn't got their own rights very well. I mean, and that's why, so, for example, it is a common pattern that, for example, you're working in a big company and they use sign some contract, so you could be guarded by this kind of contract, not to just expel you from the work, but actually they say, oh, you're not working very precise, so we should put somebody to watch over your work this month and find whether you're working well or not. And in the end, you understand that it is a policy and it is a process just to be retired of the work, so it is not like coincidence, and so it's better just to decide to quit the work. It's less painful for you, and if you're not educated with some master or whatever, actually it's like that. So about the concept of the university, whether all these kind of people who work in these new skills technology company are their part or they're out of the university in terms of diplomas and so on. And that's why they work here and there and so on, but there is a route that they couldn't go to the higher high in the hierarchy of the children. So they need the new working class, technical, and because they like
and because at least on European level, which is a different policy from that of the US at the moment, look at the document New Era 2030, European Research Area. Universities should be a driving force for economic competitiveness. So this is where innovation happens, etc. So these skilled people without higher education you're talking about, they're about to become holders like the new manual workers, etc.
There is.
So in this debate, they are not on a level lower level in the IT industry, definitely, and actually, the higher education does not, it's not very important in that area, because even those who have only high school education, but have courses or the kind of like non-formal academia, but they have the courses for programmers and program languages, and they are equally skilled or both have finished the university, and even the salaries they don't be fair. They can go higher higher pay, because depends on the if they're seniors or juniors. It depends on the how they are more in that field, they get more and how do you say more experience in the field. It doesn't matter whether they have diploma or
no, but they do not innovate, they just work the work, they're workers. They're still highly paid workers. Here, they're still highly paid, even in Europe, but the prediction is with the development of AI and with this focus on innovation, that's where the money will go. And these people will end up being the working class. Last year, I was at this Chatham House, the Gruen Institute Europe in Venice, and people whom I cannot mention, but close to the leaders of this let's say reform or economic project for Europe were stating literally that coders will soon become literally the manual worker of the future. And then there was a conversation as to where this manual work would concentrate, and they literally said it's already in the new member states like Bulgaria and Romania, but also increasingly in the candidates country, literally, like North Macedonia, Serbia, etc. So now it's fine, they are well paid, but there's already most of them work for foreign companies, right? Remotely. So from that perspective, they are cheap labor. So we are cheap labor toward.
Yeah, but in these companies that are here, foreign companies, but there is division between lower level, junior and senior.
No, they're of course we're not practical.
As long as they're longest in the field.
That makes sense. For example, if you develop research centers at universities as Europe plans, if you have a highly skilled, talented, I don't know, innovator, he probably doesn't need to have a degree, as you say, but he will be hired at the research university because that's where they're investing.
And then depends on the how the country is developed and whether they spend money on education or not. Because here more money is coming from the foreign private companies, IT companies, than in education, because we don't invest in education. Actually, you're right, but the situation evolves, and that will not really be the case in 5 years in the future, because all kinds of businesses, foreign companies prefer in recent future and Bulgaria and Romania will be not such an opportunity, because 5 people who are going to computing are priced as one in Bulgaria. So the cheaper labor, so they move more to the east and it is in that's the reason, I come to this case, that's the reason they want to, retire.
No, this is the decision on the.
Some of the workers, they work well, so they work well, they take night, working in the night, and so in terms of proficiency, and they are very well doing their work, and even though that they don't have some reasons to
True, it has been like that for a while now, but last year, I'm just reporting what I heard. Luckily, I cannot remember the name of this woman, the first name only, Francesca. She was von der Leyen advisor on these issues. She presented the vision. The vision is to pull back labor and in the content, let's put it that way. I mean, they they are already developing some sort of economic protectionism, but on the level of the continent. So this was said. I don't know if it's going to happen, but this is a sort of a policy in place. If it's going to happen, maybe as you're saying, they will continue in the old way. So many things that they expected to happen did not happen, like the great organization.
Just a comment related to the initial question by Kami. I recently read an article, a journalistic one, not an academic, about the mobility of professors from the USA universities to the industry, AI professors. There is a mass exodus. Professors left their position at universities in order to join specific companies in the industry. And at the same time, the article suggested that there is a shift. These high-tech companies, they prefer to hire non-educated people, like non-educated people without a bachelor, postgraduate degrees and PhDs. So perhaps this is a new trend, at least in the States. I don't know. Just for your initial comments.
In my opinion, it is very important to see the social trends of development and education in the context of capitalism. And, for example, to notice that it is because of capitalism, there is a now trend to stimulate people to not to go to higher education, but have vocational training, because the market needs that kind of labor force. Also, we should remember that higher education is not only about becoming sellable as a commodity to the market, but for some other reasons, and which is very important, point which politicians and businessmen are trying to say that it is not like that, but that is contrary to the point of higher education. That also we should also keep in mind that capitalism is directing the students to courses that are demanded by the market. For example, there is no above economic system reason why, for example, environmental studies or social work would be, if you finish now that courses, then you will be paid less. but there is no reason beyond capitalism that it should be like that. It is because of capitalism now the computer sciences are guaranteeing better paid and social work can guarantee unemployment. So very important point to keep in mind that capitalism creates quite a lot of disturbances. And also very important point to make is often when we are talking about criticism of capitalism, it is only notifying that things are as such as given and not changeable. So, for example, we take it for granted that social work and environmental sciences will be forever lower paid, and if you want to get much money, you should become
An IT
think of
expert.
yourself as a commodity to sell yourself to the labor market.
I totally agree, and unfortunately, in Greece, in the last 4 to 5 years, there is a set of policies that points to the same direction. Push people to leave universities, sometimes even school.
Yeah, that's why humanities are
Mm-hmm,
in that position right now. Because what's the point going to study philology in university? If it's the only option is to stay in the academia or become a teacher, or at most become a translator or publisher, that's it, that's your options. And there's something else, the companies are developing educational programs, one of the bigger corporates that are trying to, I don't know how to say, to become some kind of educational centers for their workers, for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So no need for university, for state university or other kind of universities. Companies are producing the workers that they're needing.
Even staff universities in Germany, you have Jakob Skopje University, you have Skoda universities,
That's it.
Volkswagen the foundation. I know, I don't know, they skill their people, but they also offer. They also join the industry.
So industry is becoming a statement part of the
Mhm.
educational sector.
Yeah, and
Education my largest as well. Yeah.
in my opinion, we cannot fight this trend if we don't locate the problem in capitalism, because, for example, if we internalize the argument that the most important thing of getting higher education is to become more sellable to the labor market, then it means that by definition we are taking the priorities by the market, and that will mean that every course that is not sellable to the market will become inferior. So, and for example, if someone from the neoliberal governments are claiming that higher education should accommodate to the labor market, then you cannot, without questioning the priorities of that government and of its serving capitalism, to confront it. Because, for example, okay, let's after all keep in mind labor market. But if you invest in environmental and social work, then there will be a demand for that kind of.
Let me respond to this, because maybe you didn't catch the beginning of the presentation, and I haven't seen the final version of the study, but we talked methodology in Athens. It's based on debunking the capitalist myth of brain drain and the value of brain and the falsity of the division between manual and or physical or material and immaterial labor. So it begins like that, it's established like that methodologically, and then it's debunked. For example, in the case of North Macedonia, why am I insisting on empowering the universities? For the following reason, it is precisely the market that seeks to exploit us as a dump of cheap labor that devalues higher education and castrates it from its autonomy, from its. So in a way, I'm weaponizing Bologna. Yes, I'm using Bologna to empower the universities and the academic community, and to claim the status of us having the right to be part of the family that offers expensive labor, that offers innovation, etc. What the EU imagines for itself. Instead, they are trying to turn us into dumps for cheap labor. That's why I'm warning that the coders will soon become manual labor. This is already a phase. They are the workers in the factory. Who needs coding anymore in AI era? And increasingly less it will be so. Or if it's cheaper than AI, then they will hire our coders. So our government is in fact doing the following, and precisely through the rules by centralizing notification, it discourages the return of high-skilled labor. It discourages, it's almost impossible. You wait for a year or two for your Oxford diploma to be recognized here. But on the other hand, there is speedy recognition of cheap labor, which comes from the migrant route investment. We have now many Middle Eastern workers, many Turkish workers, students at universities, which is interesting. It's far more easy for them to get their diplomas. So it's a kind of a, I know I sound now like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm looking at the trends. This is what is more easily recognized. This is what is discouraged to be recognized. With it, this is the type of labor force we end up offering to work from here remotely for the West as cheap labor, whereas our universities are practically non-existent. Remember when Ohridski concluded that our universities were too dumb and incompetent to offer doctoral studies, so he shut all of them and gave state-funded opportunities for 300 or more doctoral students to study on PhD level in the elite universities of the West. All of that is not socialist at all. So to kind of use Bologna, weaponize it, it can work in our favor and empower universities. Here is, not doing capitalism in favor, because the capitalist logic here is the reverse. This is my point. If you think that I'm advocating for this because of, my idea being we should offer high-skilled workers to the Western IT market. No, I don't think so. We should empower the state as an entity to participate in this all European high-skilled labor. Otherwise, we're a dump for cheap labor. This is my logic.
Okay, but what I would propose is, for example, the neoliberal governments that we had from the independence until now, they see themselves as servants of the market, and they see themselves as isolated from creation of the economic trends, for example. And so when they are talking about educational policies, they are repeating the sacred rule: market knows best, and education should be a complementary supplier to the market. This means that to confront this trend, this role of the state should be questioned. A state can create a demand on the market and not take the demands of the market as given. How? If you create demand on the market for certain professions, then that kind of professions should will have need of workers, and here it is. For example, with the environmental protection, if there is no if there is no need for environmental scientists, then they will be poor when they finish the faculty. But if there is a governmental regulation stating that enterprises should have these research centers created by the state and so on, there will be a demand for such professions. So that's why I'm saying that we shouldn't go one step behind and see and question the narrative that they are creating.
Yeah, that's why we need something that we can speak from that position. Because, for example, when you were talking about environmental studies, I was thinking about the previous Erasmus project we had, and we had a guest from the Faculty of Physics here, who was talking about the links between invention in physics, for example, batteries, and economy. And he says, we kind of as physicists know how far we can go, but on the other hand, we have no knowledge. So he was talking about the need of interdisciplinarity, no knowledge as to whether any market could absorb the batteries that I could come up with. So, for example, environmental studies, can you do them without working closely with the physics department and innovation in batteries and alternative batteries to avoid ravaging of the earth and the savage digging out of minerals in third world countries? Yes, we need this collaboration. So if the EU level policy of deep merging, deep integration of disciplines like social sciences and humanities and STEM works in our favor, why don't we ride that wave for our own goals to subvert capitalism? Sometimes you can simply take the opportunity, the policy opportunity, in order to subvert it to the anti-capitalist political goals. Actually, tactically, I don't know if there is any other way. So, okay, never mind. It's a big question.
Well, I understand completely your premises and I agree with him. But tactically, I don't believe it is possible because neoliberal governments take the money from EU or some American grants, and they'll just accelerate such narratives. So I think we should accept that we will stay poor with some kind of professions, but still we are not under pressure of this capitalist logic because of some of the trends that Petros spoke about. These young people who are in high-tech companies, they're under great pressure. So more money, more pressure, needs to change your profession. And I prefer to be in the university as a full teacher and not to be in this machine. This machine is there, others, but you should pay free time, thinking, and is there a place out of them? Is there a place out of them? Yes, no. Is university out of capitalism? Machine learning, actually, it's an integral part.
It is an integral part, and we cannot step outside. That's why I'm saying we can just use policies to subvert processes, because there is no spot to stand on outside of.
Well, I like more the thesis of John Holloway, cracking capitalism and creating holes in the wall of capitalism. So if she decides not to run for the money, accepting some other job which will give her more money than and reduce her free time, then it is at least non-capitalist move if it is not anti-capitalist. So we should not accept that because capitalism is making us doing something, that we should do that just for that reason. There is a resistance and refusal to play by the rules of capitalism is something. It is creating an atmosphere which is creating possibilities. That is why cracking capitalism is very important. Maybe some crack will develop.
I think that it's very simple, seizing the means of production. If we're alienated from the means of production, of how they're created, if they are now placed in universities, I think that we have a greater chance of, now we're dreaming about the revolution, we are going to
But how that argument sounds. We should seize the means of production. We cannot seize them, so we play by
no, we can't use them if we create them. If the opportunity is now that everything that is competitive economically in Europe happens at universities, especially research universities, where there is a lot of money invested. If we are the creators of the means of production, how can we not seize them? You have to know them, you have to create them, you have to operate with the means of production in order to seize them. This is my logic. I'm not saying we will always, never mind, this is fantasy now.
This is actually very important because what comes at it's on personal level, but you can resist on personal level, but that's not systematic. And you're talking about governments and how governments can, through policies, can navigate this. I mean, we create cracks in the capitalist world, but what are these governments? How are they different from what we get now? How is this change possible?
Yeah, I think that individual and collective action is both needed. For example, on the individual level, for example, they are giving through Erasmus or I don't know what program, they want some analysis that will fortify the neoliberal narrative. You can refuse it that there will be no more money for you. Yes, but you can refuse it, for example, on individual level, which doesn't mean that you should ignore the collective level. What the government is doing, how it's presenting things, the priorities of the market are the highest priority, or you are questioning that logic.
But we need agency. You cannot do anything if we don't have the agency. And what we have, the agency we have is education, it's university.
Let's create the agency. So creating an agency is not something like You have it once magically, but it is creating the process. If everyone accepts that it is not a problem of capitalism, it is problem of our governments, like here it is, I mean, thesis, or it is a problem created by capitalism, but we cannot change it, then we cannot build the agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a process of creating.
But the thing like that, we're dealing a lot with self-evident situation, and it's a kind of a process of naturalization. That things are like that, and this nature around us is the nature of the capitalist logic, which serves just to accelerate this kind of procedures. And it's a kind of the hypocrisy of the system that we should see some manners of self-evident. And for example, in my previous example, the guy in the high-tech company couldn't succeed in subverting the system, the big company, and they started procedure in trying to hire them, they'll succeed. But he'll just, I don't know, just understand that this is the procedure and quickly follow the whole process started. And I see that with this project actually is dealing exactly with subverting the argument of the UA program by their word, with their words. So she just again deconstruct this self-evident logic, because just pointed out how these words operate against what they advertise as logic. Good thing. So with the good things, we keep the situation. What is underground? And I see actually higher education puts us in this situation in this kind of processes, because most of the even it's not the logic of humanity versus free sciences, but fundamental sciences, again, this logic of skills. So you have the skill to compute in this language, so you have the good working this company, that company, whatever. But with fundamental sciences, if you start learning maths, you have a lot of seminars which are not operated, and so you're learning high mathematics, and some of the courses in Einstein logic or so on and so on are not functioning in your work, but still they give you exactly tools, not accepting the skill as the most important things.
The Sharper is supposed to respond also in the program. The Sharper is in the program and responding. Is he still online?
I'm here. Hi, good morning. I'm here, but I wasn't informed I was supposed to respond. I
Žarko,
hear for the first time.
Okay, in the program, we have a respondent from FMK. We were not sure who would attend this session. That's why we didn't state the name. If you have nothing to comment on, Becca responded yesterday. If you have nothing to comment in particular, that's fine because your name is not explicitly stated in the program. But if you have a couple of words to say, that would be also great, based on what you heard. I don't know how much you heard from the rest of the discussants, because
I could hear Petros pretty well, but I couldn't hear the rest of you that
I
well.
was worried about that. We usually respect the rule that everybody who intervenes should show up in front of the Zoom, but now it became spontaneously like this. Okay, would you like to say something in response to Petros's presentation, or?
I liked the presentation very much. I thought it was very clear and very succinct, and I think he did a great job summarizing all the work that was invested in this topic. I hadn't prepared because I honestly didn't know I was gonna be expected to respond. So I don't think I could improvise anything really worthwhile just from the top of my mind right now. I just wanted to hear the presentation and the discussion, although I couldn't hear much of the discussion, but I could hear the presentation loud and clear.
Offer a respondent's response. We had a Q&A, essentially a discussion afterwards. If you have a comment on that level, like Q&A discussion, you're welcome. This is what I'm saying. Okay, you already gave your view on the presentation, so if you have nothing else to add.
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thanks for intervening either way. Yeah, we will certainly follow up on the report once we have the draft to give our feedback, etc. So yeah, so I will bring Petros back to close the session, or should I close the session at this point? Okay, so thanks, Jarko, for stating your view on the presentation. We will be following up on everything that was said in these couple of days via our one-day sort of workshop, the virtual multiplier event, where, since we will all be in the Zoom room, we will all hear ourselves better. We will have the final paper in front of us, so it will be easier to discuss. So let's wrap up for today. According to the plan, we have reserved the afternoon for student workshops, which I'm not very hopeful will effectuate itself, but that's the agenda for today. So we can just wrap up this session and wrap up for today. Yeah. Okay. So thanks everybody, those who are on the stream, hopefully. And yeah.